and one for the intelligent as fellas get. Listen, let's settle this. Be clear, I can fall back 7 years, still it ain't no one ahead of me. Consider it a blessing if you get to stand next to me. 5-star general, OG veteran, cake like.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. I'm here in the office at the gym out in Rockville, and take this opportunity to have a little discussion about something I was reading on Dave Johnston of Geared Up forums on Facebook. I think it's a private forum, so I think you'd have to actually, be accepted into this forum. But it's called Geared Up, and there's a podcast that I used to be on called Geared Up with David Johnson, Adam McVeigh, and Adam was talking, or it was Dave. I think Dave was talking about how, I think Adam talks about this too frequently, about the new divisions that have come along, where you have physique, classic physique, bikini, figure, I guess would even be considered. I don't know if they're even considering fitness, which is kind of gone by the wayside. Has basically destroyed bodybuilding and run it out of the events. So basically, it's destroying bodybuilding. And I had to step back and go, basically, bodybuilding was dying. Bodybuilding was absolutely a dying sport, and it was a necessity for them to do these divisions to actually keep it around. If these divisions weren't around right now, bodybuilding would probably no longer be around. The shows that I go to now, they're very, very small classes of bodybuilders. And it's not because there's more physique. No, there's like 3 bodybuilders in a class, 2 bodybuilders in a class. When I first started training and competing in 1993, my teenage class had about 12 or 13 guys in it. Now you're lucky if you get 1 teenager starting in there. They don't want that look anymore. They don't want to have to do the massive amounts of drugs. They don't want to be involved with that shit. And, it was starting to go that way a long time ago, and the writing on the wall was there. I don't think bodybuilding as a whole is ever going to go anywhere at its truest form. Its truest form is in the gym, training, let's face facts, wearing the ripped shirts and the strength tank tops and your fucking bandana and stuff. I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere. I think the same people that are going to do that are always going to do it, and there's going to be a new crop of kids starting from when they're younger, not feeling adequate enough, feeling small, feeling skinny, where they'll become a bodybuilder. They'll start to go in that direction to become a bodybuilder. But bodybuilding was dying, and it would pretty much be fucking non-existent right now. There would be very few shows at all if it wasn't for the physique classes that have come along. If you're only getting, women's bodybuilding has been done with. They've gotten rid of it. There's so few women bodybuilders competing that it wasn't even really worth running those divisions, which is fucking terrible. But that's just the case. It's just the way it is. It's gone so far with these women looking so bad that not only is it just not the mainstream, people go, I don't want to look anything like that. When I was, starting out, Rachel McLish, the girls like that, people wanted to look like that. They wanted to look like Linda Hamilton with the arms, the ripped arms and stuff. They didn't want to look like these girls like Iris Kyle. They just didn't. And they still don't now. So out of necessity, these other divisions were born. If you had the guys, let's say, there's like 1 in the middleweight class, 1 in the lightweight class, 3 in the middle, the light heavies, and there's like 2 in the heavies and 1 super heavy. That's pretty much like where the, most of the classes don't even have a competitor. There's some where they have to cut the class, so there's no lightweight. They put the lightweight in the middleweight, or the bantamweight in the lightweight or whatever, because there's nobody to compete with. So imagine if you had a show that you had to pay for a venue, you had to pay for all the stuff that was going on for that whole day. You pay employees, you pay for the venue, all the licensing, all that stuff. What do you make in the end? You wouldn't be making any money. You'd be making barely anything. You'd have 12 people in the show. Each one of those people have 2 or 3 people that comes to see the tickets. You're fucked at that point, seriously. So they stepped back and said, what should we do? And I think the first thing that they did was they introduced figure to get rid of the bodybuilding, the women's bodybuilding. They put figure in there. And lo and behold, it drew more interest, and more women were doing figure. They said, well, this actually worked out pretty well. It saved the women's bodybuilding. That's where it started. Women's bodybuilding was on its fucking way out the door. And then when men's bodybuilding started happening, you're seeing less and less people at shows. And I think that the reason for that is that bodybuilders by nature are very insecure about themselves. Okay, so when they're walking around the gym and they got a tank top on, or they're all puffed up and shit, they feel great. They feel like they're the fucking man. They feel like they're the only one in the gym that looks like that nobody's better than them. But when you step on a stage and you get fucking last place, or you lose to someone else that you think you shouldn't have, that's humbling. And a lot of guys do not want to fucking deal with that. I can't tell you how many guys, time and time again, oh, I'm doing this show, I'm doing that show. The motherfuckers never get on stage, or they miss that show. Oh, I missed my peak, so I decided not to do it. They don't even do the shows because they're scared to get on stage and they're scared to lose. That's a hit to their ego and it's a fucking blow to them big time. However, these physique guys, a lot of them get on stage and they don't even give a fuck where they place. They just want to compete. They're enthusiastic about it. So therefore, they're like, I'm going to come in as good as I can and go up there and see where I, place. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still some feelings that get hurt in placings, but, physique came along to save bodybuilding. Let's face facts. Bodybuilding would have been fucking dying out even more. There would have been less opportunities to, it's not even about money. There's not even less opportunities, let's say, for contracts and shit like that. Fuck the contracts, get them aside. Competition, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about competitive bodybuilding. There would be less chances to compete on stage. And most of the bodybuilders are not even taking advantage of it now because they're too fucking scared. They know they can't get their glutes as hard as they fucking need them to be. They can't get that Christmas tree lower back. They can't get the fucking hamstrings to pop. Those areas that they can't get in because they don't have it genetically, they don't have the willpower to stick to a diet and do 2 hours of cardio a day or whatever, they know they're going to get beat, so they don't go on stage. If they don't go on stage, there's nobody at the fucking shows. So physique comes along. Next thing you know, okay, we can still run the shows and have bodybuilding, but there's more people that want to do this than this. And then it became to the point where, of course, bikini. The girls didn't want to look like the figure. The figure started going in the direction of too big for a lot of most women. The figure numbers are starting to drop off. Again, when you see that trend of something that's starting to drop off, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, you push this too fucking far, it's going to wind up like women's bodybuilding. So few people in it, you can't even fucking run it. There's no pro division, there's no fucking amateurs that lead to pros because people don't want to do it. So they add the, bikini and they add physique. Then there was, people make fun of the board shorts and the way that they pose. And a lot of these physique guys have really good physiques. The physique guys with the board shorts are in better condition than the fucking bodybuilders. So now you want to blame it on like physique and you want to blame it on bikini? How about if these fucking bodybuilders got off their goddamn ass and actually came in shape? That would be a fucking start. And actually took their balls out of their pocket and decided to get on stage and give it a fucking shot. If you lose, you lose. Who gives a fuck? You get beat, you get beat. Fucking try again. No, instead, they're just fucking, I'm just going to sit it out and fucking complain about bodybuilding not being around. Well, you want to save your sport? Take part. Do something. You know what I mean? Train athletes to get in shape and get them on fucking stage. But, to sit back and say that these other divisions ruined it. No, these other divisions have saved bodybuilding to where you still have a place if you want to go compete, to compete. The only reason you have a place to go, so many places in this country, every weekend, there's probably 10, 15, 20 shows across the country that are happening all the fucking time. And you know why? Bikini, figure, physique, now classic physique. It's not bodybuilding. It's not women's bodybuilding. It's not women's physique. That's not what's running these fucking shows. And if those things weren't happening, there would be no fucking shows. And then what would you say then? Well, where would it go? I mean, let's say the divisions didn't fucking happen. What would you say then about bodybuilding not being around? What would you say then about bodybuilding fucking not having the following and nobody wanting to do it? If they hadn't let bodybuilding go so far where they had a bloated, disgusting physique that was so shredded in places that fucking were unseen of, and you had to take massive amounts of fucking drugs and practically kill yourself and lose your hair by the time you're 22, maybe people would still be doing bodybuilding. Like the Bob Paris look, the Sean Ray look, the Francis Benfato look, Lee Labrada. These guys that when I first came around, those guys were doing really well. Enter classic bodybuilding, where the guys have better physiques now. Don't get me wrong, there's some people jumping into these shows that shouldn't be there. Plain and simple. But if you look at the pro division of classic physique, Denny Hester, Stan McQuay, Taram Charles, these guys have amazing physiques. They have physiques that people want to aspire to. They're bringing bodybuilding, although it's called classic physique, they're bringing bodybuilding back to where it needs to be, that people are going to want to do it again. Let's face facts. Everybody wants to see the freaks. That's never going to go away. But not everybody can be a freak. And when you can't be a freak, you have a tendency not to want to show off your physique because you're not one of the freaks. So without these divisions, there would literally be no more physique sports, meaning bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding. Even women's physique has gone too far. They try to reel that back in too. So be aware, guys. It's not these other divisions that are fucking it up. These other divisions have actually saved it. They were a necessity to keep bodybuilding around. And if you really want fucking bodybuilding to be the king of the fucking hill, the focus of all these fucking sports, you bodybuilders have to get off your fucking asses and compete. There are more pros now than ever before in the IFBB. And 85% of them don't even fucking compete. All right, there are more pro cards up for grabs. When we were younger, there was fucking one pro card up for grabs. There's shitloads of fucking pro cards up for grabs all the time now. Nobody's going into these fucking shows in the numbers that fucking they were back in the day. They've included new divisions, fucking pro cards in the masters division, pro cards in teenage division, whatever the fuck. They got all these pro cards, and people are still sitting it out because they're scared to bang heads on stage with other people and lose. That's going to be too much of a hit to their ego. So you want to save bodybuilding? Get on stage. You want to be part of the fucking movement to save it? Get these people back on stage, get them back competing, get the numbers back up bodybuilding-wise in these shows, and show everybody, you know, bodybuilding's not fucking dead, but if you don't, and people don't take part in it, let's face facts. It's not. It's always going to be an underground thing, and you may not see a lot of competitive bodybuilders on stages at these local things, but it's always going to be an underground thing in the gym. But like, you know, let's face facts. If you got physique guys that are more shredded than a bodybuilder, whose fault is that? It ain't the fucking physiques guy. It's that bodybuilder that didn't do the fucking work to get himself in shape. So, my opinion is, I think that it's all good. I think that, you know, if they really wanted to, they could hold them on different days. But bodybuilding's going to have a big enough fucking push to where they can rent out a venue and all the employees and all that shit for another day and run just bodybuilding on that day. Without the numbers of the bodybuilders competing and putting the money into the organization for bodybuilding, that's never going to happen. Biowesterntraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biowesterntraining.com is the blog. It's the physique sports actually saved the bodybuilding bicep, and we're out.